Over here to Grandma. I want to talk to you. I'm so glad to see you. You're so special to me, Christopher. You love me. How old are you, Christopher? 6. Well, you're getting to be such a big boy. Grandma wants to tell you a story, a real true story, the way things happened long time ago with Grandma and some of the other members of the family. And it's a pretty long story, Christopher. So while you lay down here on the couch and listen to the story, I'm going to see about a little music to go along with it. Okay? Alrighty, you lay down right here. Okay. It all began when I was 17 years old, a senior in high school, living with my parents in the heart of the Great Smoky Mountains, where they pastored 2 small rural churches near Bryson City, North Carolina. It was the year of my high school graduation, also of my marriage to a young, handsome man, Adlie Barefoot, Jr., who was completing studies at the seminary at Owasso, Michigan. It was all settled before the wedding that we would go as missionaries to Africa. We needed several years of preparation. God had called Adlie into the ministry, and yes, I was happy to go to Africa or anywhere as the Lord directed. 6 very busy and happy years followed, during which 2 beautiful girls were born. Mary and Marie were 4 and 5 years old when finally we were making final preparations for our long journey by ship to South Africa for a term of 7 years. It was the fall of 1953. Our trunks and suitcases were packed. Other personal property, such as furniture and vehicle, had been disposed of. We were saying goodbyes to friends and family. Please notice the Christmas tree on the back right. The greenery is money. Adlie is on the front right. I'm on his left, with the dark hair holding up a gift, while Mary and Marie are looking on with the dark hair and blue dresses next to the white chair. We were going to miss our loved ones very much. They had shown so much love to us with giving us Christmas, which included a wonderful meal. Marie is clutching her doll in the arms of the girl on the left. I'm in a purple dress just behind my friend with the beautiful braids. Yes, it was an emotional time. It wasn't easy to say goodbye for such a long time. My mother was getting old and she was very dear to me. I would miss her so very much. The 4 of us were on our way to South Africa at last, to live among the heathen and tell them about Jesus. We were representing the Pilgrim Holiness Church. The church people were behind us with their prayers and support. We were truly ambassadors for Jesus. We left Indianapolis, Indiana for New York City on this very nice train which accommodated us all with restroom and bunk beds in one compartment. We felt happy and excited, full of life and hope and confidence, knowing full well God was with us. We taxied down to the ship from our hotel room in New York City. It was a huge freighter ship called the African Planet. It had lots of cargo, 11 passengers and a full crew. When our ship docked on Savannah, Georgia to pick up more cargo, these friends came on board and stood with the girls and I on the ship's deck before saying goodbye. For one last time, we were waving goodbye to our friends and homeland from the top deck of the ship. There was now too much anticipation for the future and excitement in this new adventure, and no time for tears. The harbor was tranquil in the sunset as our ship moved slowly out into the wide ocean. Other ships were in the harbor also. Our family had 2 small rooms and a bathroom on the ship. It was very compact with bunk beds and a desk and chairs. It was attractive and comfortable for our 3 weeks journey across the Atlantic. Our friends and schoolmates from Pilgrim Bible College had written letters. We were supposed to open one each day of our journey. What a joy and inspiration those letters were. A tugboat pulled the ship safely out of the harbor into the open sea. Far out on the ocean one bright sunny day, we stood at the pilot's wheel for a picture. Plenty of leisure time to stroll the decks, write letters, browse through the library, or just stuff ourselves on the wonderful food. 3 weeks had passed, and our entrance into the strange land of our dreams was soon to be a reality. We had survived the high winds and the storms. The ship had tossed about and we felt ill, but we were safe. Some fellow passengers shared our first closer view from the deck of Cape Town, South Africa, a beautiful modern city with different languages and culture from our own, different currency, different climate. We had been trying for days to get that first glance of the coastline. It was now the 1st of December, the beginning of summer in Africa. The little boat carried the immigrant officials out to our ship. They would check our visas and passports before allowing us to enter this country. Another small boat would pull us safely into the harbor and dock. There was no one that we knew to greet us, and we were still many miles from our destination. Our exit from the ship in a taxi where vehicles sped recklessly on the opposite side of the road from what we were used to was quite a frightening experience for us as we went to an address in Cape Town of the missionary home, a haven for missionary families arriving or departing the country. It was clean, safe, and comfortable, but we were introduced to a number of things which made us know full well we were indeed far away from home in a foreign land. After a few days at the mission home, we boarded a train going north across the mountains and the desert. It was a slow steam locomotive passenger train, so different than the one in the States. It was a long 1,000-mile journey, and when at the end of the railway line we met our missionary friends and co-workers, we were so weary, dirty, and hungry, but happy to see a familiar face. Reverend Ermal Wilson, our regional superintendent, met us and took us another several hours in his vehicle to the mission at Mount Prayer. His family and staff welcomed us, and we enjoyed a few days there. We enjoyed the services there, even though the language was unfamiliar, and an interpreter was needed for us to understand or to be understood. There was a school and a church there. They were very enthusiastic in their worship and singing. Reverend Wilson informed us that during our journey, the governing board of the church had made a change in plans. Instead of going directly to Pondaland, a remote area among the natives, we were needed to minister to a white congregation near Johannesburg temporarily. Brother Wilson took us the 150 miles across the mountains to Pondaland for a visit. We stayed in a mud house with grass-thatched roof with a native family at Good Hope Mission. It was located on top of a flat mountain, and the mission could be seen for many miles away. Our hearts were really torn because this is where we really wanted to be. How long would it be before we could return? It was several hundred miles from Mount Frere to Backpan, our new home. What a shock to see this place. It looked more like a hotel with many unoccupied and empty rooms. A huge, beautiful grounds with flowers, fruit trees, grapevines loaded with luscious grapes, and even a tennis court. The church was nice, also located on the property. It was furnished. The congregation was small, but very nice people. Inside the house, the rooms were spacious, furnished downstairs with the necessities, large closets, and a winding stairway in the front foyer. Our trunks arrived after several weeks, and as it happened, a member of our church was visiting us and was ready to lend a helping hand, or was it curiosity? The people were all very warm and friendly. They spoke English as well as Afrikaans. We visited to minister into our community, but we had no vehicle. We did house-to-house visitation with Mary and Marie on the backs of our bicycles. It was great fun. Lots of people rode the bicycles. Our missionary friends in nearby Johannesburg would sometimes come for us and take us to the big city. On this occasion, they came with their 2 sons to help us celebrate our first Christmas in Africa. The tree was an original idea using materials in hand, which were rather crude, but we were thankful. We had a joyous time with the Gilmores and the Keiths. It was September, Mary's 6th birthday. The girls were happy and going to a nearby school with other white children. They were also learning to speak Afrikaans. Mary had recovered from a severe illness of glandular fever and also several tooth extractions. It had been extremely rough for her. After 18 months, we loaded our furniture and supplies needed for our home in Condoland on this old and dilapidated truck. It kept breaking down and needing repairs. The girls and I and the dog waited patiently each stop, and then the 4 of us, the driver and the dog, would squeeze inside and start again. It took us 2 days and 2 nights to go 500 miles. Over the mountains we went. The scenery was gorgeous, but the roads were terrible. Farther and farther from any civilization we went, passing the heathen women carrying their loads on their heads and wearing only a blanket and barefooted. We saw their mud huts, naked children, and the little boys with barely a loincloth who herded the cattle or sheep. They looked wild, hungry, and sad as they stared at us. The paths from the road could be seen in many directions leading down into the valleys. There were no fences, no electric or phone poles. Clusters of huts on the mountainsides, so many precious humanity never having heard about Jesus. This lad owns only the rags he is wearing. Behind him is a cattle corral, where the cattle is kept safely at night. These heathen women are crossing the mountains in their best. These are blankets with colorful pieces of material and beads on bands encircling their heads, arms, and legs. These things are found at the trading store many miles apart, which are owned and operated usually by white people known as the traders. This is a common scene and shows the poverty and malnutrition of the children. Their diet is mainly corn or beans. Sometimes the corn is ground into a fine meal like mush. Meat or sugar is a delicacy. These young Pondo women are carrying grain to this trading store to purchase other supplies. This is a typical native man and his family in front of their home. They speak the Xhosa language, and we could communicate only with an interpreter. We arrived safely at Good Hope Mission in Condoland and made the clinic, which is the white building, our home. It had 4 small rooms, a cement floor with tar paper covering. This was temporary quarters until the mission home could be built. The bathroom was an outhouse. We were lucky to have one, as no one else did. The natives here are waiting for the service to begin, which was held in the school building nearby on the mission. In the middle of the picture, you can see Mary. By this time, I was teaching the girls 1st and 2nd grades through the Calvert system from the States. They were doing well. Sometimes the young men would go to the gold mines near Johannesburg and leave their families for long periods of time, but upon their return there was money for clothes or other needed supplies. The natives had many beer parties. They often passed in front of the mission, carrying their mats, their spears, wearing blankets and head adornment. The men generally did not work. The fuels were cared for by the women, who also took care of their children and often worked with their babies on their backs. the men in their drunkenness would fight and kill each other with their spears. We felt the need, and our hearts were burdened with their spiritual needs. At least they showed no hostility toward us. Someone like this seemed to have so little in life, but just one among many who needed to know Jesus. This young Zulu girl is standing in front of a manual mission station far from Pondoland. This mission had been established many years before. This monument was placed in memory of one of the earliest missionaries known to our church, Reverend Strickland. We were privileged to minister at this place just before returning to the States. This young man is preparing to cook the meat in the big black pot over an open fire. Finally, after several months, this beautiful red truck came from overseas. We needed it so badly. It was 30 miles to the nearest store, and many of our provisions were 150 miles away. One Sunday afternoon, we took a stroll down the mountain at the back of the mission. We didn't go far. It was too steep,